We have Tiffany Templeton here again with us from English Montreal School Board, who is an online Cycle 1 teacher. Been doing it now for about 8 months now, since March, since school, or a little bit after March, since the schools kind of went into lockdown, and she's continued on this year doing the online students that are not coming to school. So this session is going to run for an hour. And again, feel free if there's any follow-up to reach back out to us. We will be offering a couple of other sessions, and I'll tell you about those at the end of this session. Just a couple of ground rules, I guess, is if you could keep your cameras off just so we don't crash everybody out. And then at the end, we're going to have a Q&A where we'd love to have you come on with your cameras and your mics to ask some questions to Tiffany about anything that she's going to show today. So we're really going to look at how to engage students in an online environment. Okay, so here we go. The first thing that we're going to go through is what we're going to do. Okay, so Tiffany's going to look at a couple of things online. First of all, keeping kids engaged, for sure, online. It's a big task to do. And the next thing we're going to look at are some materials for students at home, what they can use at home, and some really nice visually pleasing materials as well for students, again, for the engagement part. And then we're going to look at how to look at the progression of students, looking at assessment evaluation, and how we can do that online as well. So we're going to kind of look at all of those things over this small hour that we have together. So it'll be pretty quick. Now, the first thing we're going to try is we're actually going to try a tool that Tiffany uses in class quite a bit. So what I'd like you guys to do is, if you put in your browser the link called play.kahoot.it. Okay, maybe somebody from the team could dump that link in. Okay, so play.kahoot.it. There you go. Thanks, Craig. And we're going to, in a minute, I'm going to give you a code that you're going to join the quiz in. Okay, so we'll enter, get ready for some fun music. It's going to load up a pin. There we go. So go ahead, enter pin 294-0853, 54, sorry, 294-0854. And I'm going to wait for players. So come and play. This music's really powerful. Well, we only got 2. That's it. This will not count as a mark for your term. This is just for fun. Just for fun. We get a few other people. The questions are very easy. Oh, you can't load it on your laptop. Well, if you can't load it, you'll be able to see it just here in on my shared screen. That's got to be some of the most annoying music I've ever heard in my life. But it's engaging for kids, apparently. There we go. All right, a whole bunch of you jumped in there now. Great. So we've got some initials. We got some Elizabeths and Brittany's, Jillian's, Kara. Okay, so 294-0854.
Chris?
Yep.
Sorry. Actually, I can't hear the music on my end anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter.
That's good. I turned it off.
Oh, you did? Okay.
It was driving me bonkers.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah. There's our first strategy. Turn annoying music off. All right. So let's go. I'm going to start. Okay, so Cycle 1 Kahoot intro. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. All right. So you just have to plug in an answer. So I teach little people. I teach what? Cycle 1, kindergarten, pre-kindergarten. I'm a consultant for younger ages. Which one? You only have those 4 answers. So if you're none of those, pretend. You can pretend to be one today. Okay. All right. So quite a few Cycle 1s, which is good. Then quite a few kindergartens. We got some pre-K and we got some consultants. Excellent. Nice mix. Next one. And there's no score, guys. I took all the scores off. You could have a score, a little tabulation if you want to get into, you know, a little gamification in your class. This one's just a true false. I know how to engage my students easily. True or false? I know how to engage my students easily. True or false? As the counter comes down. Very nice. Okay, so here we are. It's a pretty good mix here. And maybe you're saying, well, not easily, I can engage them, but it takes work. Well, I hear you on that. It's not an easy process to engage students. So that's a bit of a trick question. All right, no score, obviously. Next, if kids were playing it, that would be a spot to kind of stop and look. So my biggest anxiety about online learning is what? Teaching online, managing my students online, just classroom management, engaging my students online, or following our curriculum online. What is your biggest anxiety about it? Okay, engaging my students online. Well, you've come to the right spot. Tiffany, this is just leading in perfectly. All right, and then finally, our last question, how do I evaluate online? How would I assess a student online? By observing, by interviews with students, using trace evidence, or by test quizzes and worksheets? How do I evaluate online learning? Now, this is a question like, you know, if I was evaluating online, this is what I might do. Okay, pretty cool split. So a lot by observing, good. We have 6 interviews, and then we have trace evidence exactly. And some tests, you know, I mean, tests aren't always all bad. Sometimes they give us some pretty valuable information. All right, thanks for participating. So there's our little kind of icebreaker to kind of our little quiz to get started. The next thing I want us to do, and this is kind of fun, and Tiffany's going to talk about this, but it's about connecting with your kids online, all right? Super important to connect with them. What I'd like you to do is everybody turn your camera on. Just your camera, not your audio, because we're going to play a game and you're the students. So I need some students with cameras on. Awesome, cool, awesome, excellent. So this again is icebreakers. Doing these oftentimes is great at the start of class. And again, it's about creating these relationships, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to play a little game of scavenger hunt online. And this is low tech, you only just need a screen. I'm going to give you about 5 seconds to find these items for the scavenger hunt, and I want you to hold it up to the camera. Find me something that you can write with. Find me something you can write with. Awesome. Oh, some nice color pens. Oh, excellent, Sue. That is right, the old iPad. Excellent. Nice, Alice. Excellent. All right, next one. Find me something I can drink out of. Find me something I can drink out of. That's it. Teachers always have their agua with them. You always got to have it. Always got to have it. Excellent. Show me something that needs power. Show me something that needs power. Nice phones. Excellent phones. Awesome phones. Wow, Tiffany, what is that? A timer?
It's a blood pressure monitor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it takes batteries. You don't plug it in.
Right. Awesome. Needs power. I have a microbit, needs power. And one last one. Show me a piece of recycled material. Show me a recyclable piece of material. Recyclable. Nice paper. A lot of paper. Cool. Some stickers, books. Awesome. Nice. A duotang. Perfect. Awesome. All right, guys. That's it. That's an icebreaker right there. How easy and fun was that? You didn't have to do anything, and I kind of got to know a few of you a little bit. So turn your cameras back off, please. And I'm going to flip it over now to our wonderful presenter for the afternoon. I am going to stop sharing my screen and she will start sharing hers. Now, again, I just want to introduce Tiffany. She does work at English Montreal School Board. She was here on our first session, and people were so wanting more that we asked her to come back. And again, we sold this one out. We had to shut down registration. Sorry for those that couldn't attend, just because there is a high demand, but don't worry, we've heard you and we're going to do more. So without further ado, Tiffany, please take the show. It's all yours.
Thanks very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I was surprised at how quickly these sessions filled up as soon as they've gone online, but it just shows that there's a real need. I've noticed that as well when I do PD. Sometimes there's not always material for the younger kids. So I'm going to share my presentation with you. I hope I won't forget anything or leave anything out. So again, this is my information. Again, I work for EMSB, and I'm working with virtual learning right now. So with children who are at home because either they or someone in their household has a medical exemption. And currently I'm teaching grade 1 and I'm teaching French immersion. So it's to kids who are all from different schools from EMSB that have that French immersion program at their school that they would be doing normally. I'll go through these. These are the slides that Chris went through already. So I wanted to give you some other ideas of activities you can do, just because the relationship building is so important, especially in the beginning. I mean, I think it's a little bit different if you go from online to or from going from the physical school to online as we did in the spring, but even so, it helps to make people feel comfortable learning in their homes, getting comfortable with the technology, feeling connected. So yeah, icebreakers like I Spy are really great. Another game I played at the beginning of the year is Lève-toi si. So you would say, Lève-toi si tu as un frère. And the kids who have brothers would all get up. You could say something like, you know, stand up if your birthday is in August or something like that. And of course, something that we probably do in our classes anyway, talking at the beginning of the day or the week, taking a few moments to just check in with everybody and see what were you up to over the weekend, or what did you do yesterday afternoon after school. It helps everyone to feel connected, and kids also work on their language that way. I've also found this new book that's great, called Our Class as a Family. It was just published this past spring. And that's actually available on Vox. That's how I found it. You can probably get it other ways too. I thought it'd be a good one to read at the beginning of the year, whether you're in the physical classroom or the virtual classroom. Another one is also building the relationships with the parents. We always have to do this anyways, but with online learning, we really depend on the parents a lot to help things run smoothly. We do need their support for technical things. So it's good to try to cultivate a good relationship with them. So there are a few ideas that we have here. You could do something called 2 truths and 1 lie. So you could do that in person, or you could make it as a quiz on Kahoot or something like that. If you get the parents to send you the 2 truths and 1 lie in advance, and you have the parent and come up with 2 truths and 1 lie about their kid, and then you do it all together in class, or you could do it as a quiz. You could also have a virtual classroom scavenger hunt, just as a way to get to know the platform. So important features like, where is the microphone? Where's the chat? Can you find how many people are in the class? ask them to submit an assignment that's very small. So the point is really just for them to, the assignment is just figuring out where everything is, rather than putting any academic pressure on them. I also like to send parents a weekly update or email. And sometimes I'll include photos of activities we've done in class, and just give them an idea of what's coming up the following week, any other important announcements. Because as great as Google Classroom is, some parents might find it a little bit difficult to navigate at first, and it's good that if they can connect with you over email as well. Another thing that I find just to make parents' lives a little bit easier, and also I think it makes my life easier, is sending them video tutorials, or sometimes I'll make a little guide with how to do different things using screenshots from my computer. So for instance, how students, participants can share their screens with everybody, how to sign into the virtual classroom, stuff like that. Oops. Something else that I did at the beginning is netiquette for younger learners. So I think this is a challenge because with younger kids, you want to really just kind of distill it and come up with a few really important rules for them to follow. So this is an example of one that I really liked. Just a few symbols that are really simple. There are a couple of links that I gave to Chris that he included in the Google Doc for you, so you have access to those. This one's in French, and there's another one that's similar, but it's bilingual. So yeah, just a few simple rules, and then make it into like an infographic, have pictures to go along with it, almost like pictos. And another idea is that you could make contracts or agreements with students and with the parents as well, because they're really part of the class. And I'd love to show you something really cool that a colleague of mine made with her class. So this was their netiquette agreement. This is for a Cycle 3 group, so they can read and write on their own. But they had a big group discussion, and they used Jamboard, and a lot of the kids added different points about things that they thought were important for online learning. And then the teacher made this agreement afterwards on Canva. So obviously you need to change it for the younger kids a little bit. I think it would be more of just like a discussion rather than having the Jamboard. Here are some tools, things that I use pretty often, or expect that I will start using pretty often, that I wanted to show you, just to give you a few options for things you might find useful. Another one, actually, I have an example right here, I'm using it right now, is a custom cursor browser extension. It's just something small, but it's fun, and it's really useful because it helps me to show students where we're at in a lesson, what we're all looking at, which word we're reading, which number I'm looking at, or something like that. And so you can download that into your browser and choose it, cursor, and you could change it every day if you wanted. Another one that I have that I use, I think almost every single day, even when I was teaching in a physical school, is a scanner application. This one's through Evernote. I find it really, really handy. And it helps, well, for instance, I'll give you an example. I have a program that I bought that has reproducibles, but I wasn't able to get them to the students physically. So I took a picture with the scanner, and this application, it cleans it up so it looks really nice, and then you can send it to them as a PDF. And parents can also send work to you done by students this way, so that it's nice and clear. Also, something you might find handy is a document camera, ideally, is good for when you're teaching kids writing or using manipulatives, or maybe you have a recipe that you're doing with the kids and you want to show them how you're putting everything together. If you don't have a document camera, something cool that you could do is sign into your online conference. You could sign in twice. You could use your phone or a tablet. Just make sure that you mute it so you don't get a weird echo, and you could use the camera, or you could try this IPEVO mirror cam, which is really neat. It just hooks onto your camera and then you can see everything that's here. Also, there's a couple of other little websites. Classroom Screen is something that's really nice. There's a timer, there's dice, a couple of pictos as well you could show kids during class. There's also the online voice recorder. So I'm actually going to show you those now very quickly. So this is a classroom screen. So I'll show you, there's the timer. So you could send, there's a stopwatch, there's a clock. There's dice that you can actually roll. I'm trying to think what else would be there that would be good to use. There's like a little sketch pad that you could use. So those would be handy. Also, I was going to show you the online voice recorder because this is something I expect I'll start using soon, because I will have to start evaluating more word problems in math. So you can make a recording of your voice of a message, and then you can actually embed it into a Google slide, for example. So this is an example of a problem. It comes from Digit, and the math consultants at EMSB, they actually adapted it so that it was better for online. No, I don't want that. And then this is a recording of someone reading the problem out loud. So that way, even if you've read it once, the students can click on that as many times as they like and listen to it again and again. And you could put that on this page as well somewhere. So here are some interactive activities that I do that require minimal materials, because that's always a concern. They're not there in the classroom with their desk and with all the materials around them. So again, scavenger hunts are really neat. For example, I did one the other day with the geometrical solids. So I said to the kids, okay, I'm going to give you 20 seconds, go find something that's in the shape of a cone or a cube or something like that. And the kids love that. Like, they love to show what's in their homes and show their understanding as well. Another cool thing to do once in a while is a design challenge or a STEAM challenge. And this is great because it's good to let the parents know ahead of time what you're about to do, but and just give them a little list of 3 to 5 things that they'll need. But often you can just go through the recycling or a kitchen drawer and find a lot of the stuff that you'll need, like elastics or a piece of cardboard or a toilet paper roll. So we gave some ideas here: marble run. I had my students make a home for an imaginary pet at one point. It could be a lot of different things. Another idea, something that I asked parents to get, were little white erasable boards, and parents can just get those at the dollar store pretty easily. So now when we do spelling or if we're doing math facts or something like that, they can write on it and they can just hold it up and show it to me. Works well for evaluation as well. there are some other options too. Some people like to use Jamboard, but everybody, all the kids are using it at the same time. So it can be a little bit difficult to manage. So if you want something that looks a little bit more like this, you could try one of these, whiteboard.fi. You just create a room with whiteboards, and then the kids each open up their own. They have their little board, and you can change the settings so that only you see it. So then it's low risk for students. They know that not everybody is seeing what they're writing on their board. And then also the kids, of course, they love Kahoot. And there are other quiz games like that, boom cards. Those are great. They're interactive because everybody can participate at once. Also something that I think is really neat is using pictures in class. So for example, this is one that comes from Highlights magazine, which I really like. They have all these like silly pictures. And I think there's a lot of potential for this. Like you could do an I Spy game. When my students were working on prepositions, for example, you could do a game like that. They would have to tell you where something is. It also helps them to realize they can't just point to the screen, that they have to actually use language and describe it. You could also ask them what looks strange in this picture. And another website that I really like, I think it would be really great for math, is Which One Doesn't Belong. So they have tons of them on this website. There's some that are shapes, there's some that are numbers. It gets students to think about what are different categories, ways of classifying things. And it's really cool because there usually is not just one right answer. Like as you can see with this one, which one of them doesn't belong? You could choose different ones based on what your rule is for a category. Another question a lot of people have is about evaluation, and at virtual learning, we're all talking about this, and yeah, my colleagues and I have been talking about different evaluation methods. So obviously, observations are really important throughout the class. I'm keeping notes on who's participating, who seems to be retaining vocabulary, math concepts, things like that. But there also are some other tools that you can use. For little oral presentations, I think that Flipgrid is really useful. It doesn't even need to be an oral presentation. It could just be like an ongoing discussion. So you give the topic, each kid can create their own little video, and they can even add like little graphics and things like that. So they like that. And I think this could be even this could be useful even in the physical classroom as well, if you don't want to take up a lot of class time doing presentations. And it's great because the videos you can watch it more than once, so it gives you it doesn't happen too fast. So I think that's really useful. Also, you could use Google Forms to create quizzes. I'll show you that in a minute. Jamboard or Google Slides, I showed you an example that the math consultants had made. And there's also the Math Learning Center. So I'm going to show you two of those. So this is just an example of a Google form quiz that I created. You should get the kids to write their name. If you have it going through, if you were to do this through Google Classroom, their EMSB address would be, or their school address, it would be attached to it, but it's a good idea to have a space for their name. And you can plunk in different images and things. I think a lot of people have seen Google Forms for surveys and stuff, but they haven't seen it used this way, perhaps. And then another really cool one is Math Learning Center. And the thing that I like about this, it's online manipulatives, but you can actually share an assignment with a kid. So all of these ones that say support sharing are shareable, and I'll show you what I mean. So for example, I wrote a little word problem here, and then to solve it, the kids can use these, and it's actually really cute. There's even options to change the colors, and you could change them into animals or whatever you like. And then what's great is that if you go down here, there's a share icon, and then I could copy the link, and then I could share that with you. The student will open it up, they can solve the problem, and then when they're done, they go back down here, copy the link, and they could send it back to you. So you could see their completed work. Another thing that's really important is the movement and brain breaks. So I tried to do a little movement break in the middle of every period that I'm teaching, just because it's so hard to sit there and look at the screen for a long time and listen. There's still, it's harder to tell sometimes because if the kids are on mute or you can't see them because you're presenting something, it's hard to tell, but it's really important that they move around just so they can focus. So here are some kind of go-to sites that I have. So probably a lot of you already know Cosmic Kids and Go Noodle. There's another one though that I've started using a lot called Force 4. And I'm not sure if as many teachers are familiar with it, but I really like it. Well, there's variety, but also with Force 4, it's all in French, and I'm teaching French immersion. So when I'm teaching a French class or a math class in French, it's good to have that. And it's neat because, well, I think actually maybe with all of these options, you can choose the length of time, you can choose the type of activity. So if you want like a relaxation activity, or if you want something that's like more like cardio, you are able to choose. So some other things that I want to talk about is content that looks good online, because obviously in our classrooms, we have tons and tons of paper books, but online, it's a little bit harder to share those. So there are some great platforms for sharing books. Maybe you're aware of some of them already, but these are ones where you need an account. So these are some that I rely upon, but I realize that either EMSB has bought an account or my school has bought the program. So the RP online tools, the digital ones are amazing. I don't know which other school boards have access to Radio Bibliothèque, but that's one of my personal favorites for younger kids at EMSB. Raz Kids is amazing, of course, for the kids to use on their own and also in class. Some other ones we have access to through the EMSB virtual library are, well, we have Sora, and there's also Books and Epic that are really great. And ones that are free where no account is needed, especially if you don't want to have to worry about copyright and things, because that's one of the concerns, I guess, with read alouds on YouTube, is so there's Storyline Online for English books. It's great. There are a lot of celebrities reading storybooks for kids. And you can, Tumble Books, usually you would need a subscription, but you can get it through the Westmount Library if you want to try that. And then these are more ones that I use for French. So there's one from a site from Nova Scotia called Ensemble Chez Nous. I'll show you that in a moment. And then also the French consultants at EMSB on their website, they have a couple of things that are called sambalou. So it's a collection of different platforms that are offering media in French you could use for different purposes. So there's texte entendu, texte vu, and some of those are books, and some of them are more like video sound-based. I'll just show you Ensemble chez nous because what I've mentioned before, some people are not familiar with it. So here's a collection here. It's for younger readers or beginners in French. So I like too that it's split up between narratif and informatif. So another thing that I really like is that it's the themes I find are pretty relevant for Canadians, especially for the Maritimes. For instance, there's one about Africville. There's the one about La Fête des Acadiens. But there are ones about like Halloween, what it's like to celebrate Halloween in North America. Oh, you can see the Acadian flag there. La Fête des Micmacs. And I'll just show you one of the books. And then what's great is it's kind of like a karaoke style book, just like Tumble Books or Raz Kids would be.
Le jardin. Voici le jardin. Voici un trou. Le trou.
So that's just an example. And then another thing is manipulatives for math, because we have so many in our classroom usually, and then it's pretty hard to split that all up and send it home. So I'm going to show you some options that might work for you. So one is virtual manipulatives. So some of the ones that I like to use, so Math Learning Center was one that I showed you. Toy Theater is amazing. It's unbelievable how many different applications, how many different kinds of manipulatives they have on that site. It's pretty great. The links for these are in the Google Doc, I believe. And there's another one I was introduced to called Mathagon that is also pretty good. Those could all be interesting to look at. And one thing also I wanted to point out, I use Google Slides a lot in my classes when I'm teaching. And sometimes I will use these sites. I might create a visual and then just take like a screenshot of it and put the image into my Google slide. And I find that that's been really helpful for me. And also to be a place to be able to send kids when they're doing homework, if these help them to understand a concept or finish their work. Another idea, I had included some of these things in my supply list at the beginning of the year. I asked parents to get a whiteboard and deck of cards, dominoes, dice. But since then, I've been introduced to even more things that you could use to have parents create a homemade math kit. And so you could kind of give them a list of ingredients, and hopefully a lot of these things, if they can't be found in the house, they're very affordable to get. A lot of these things can be bought at Dollarama, for instance. And you can just have, you could just ask parents to make sure that it's all in like a bag, like a pencil case or something, or a plastic tub, so that it's all ready to go, all in one place. And these are also some things I included are also some screen-free math games and activities, because if the family has lots of kids at home and not enough devices, or the parents just don't want the kids to be in front of the screen for that long, they might want some other options. So uCubed is a really good site for ideas for math talks. You could also do those in class. Also, there's Boxcars and One-Eyed Jacks, which I really like. And I have one of their books, but what they started doing recently, I think this was, I'm not sure if they're still doing it, but they were doing it in the spring. They were coming up with activities and sharing them in a newsletter. So they're all collected in this on this one page here that I've shared with you. So you can take a look, and mostly their games are very simple, using dice and cards and dominoes. And maybe you'll need to print something every once in a while. So for making the homemade math kits, I found a couple of sites that I thought had some good ideas for things to include, and also some different applications for those, so what you would use them for. There's also another site I want to show you, the Mathematics Blackline Masters, that I found recently. Because I just want to show you how extensive it is. So again, from Nova Scotia, they have great resources, I guess. So there's an addition chart, addition subtraction cards, base 10 blocks that you can print off, a calendar, a clock, 10 frames, all of these things. And a lot of these you can find online in different places, but I like that it was all together. So you might want to take a look at that. And again, you can use it for screenshots. You can just send parents a page and ask them to print it off. Hopefully they'll be able to do that. And then just a couple of last things I want to show you were some online tools that can help students review material, things that you can manipulate yourself pretty easily. So a few different tools that I've used personally that I think are great, that work well for me. There's ThingLink, which is good for creating almost like an interactive mini web page. And then Learning Apps is another one where you can make little games for like matching or putting things into categories. Also, Padlets can be useful for different things. So I'll quickly show you these examples. So if you haven't seen ThingLink before, this is what it looks like. And what's really neat is that it's very easy to make. So I just made this picture, and I actually used my scanner application and put this picture into ThingLink. And then what's neat is that you can create these buttons.
Un fort de neige.
So what I did is I recorded my voice saying the word so that the kids can click on it and they can hear the word. And then also I made a button so the kids can go see a video that has to do with that word. So.
Une montagne.
And this is an example of a learning app. So one that I use a lot is the matching a picture to a word, but also here you can, this one I did prisme ou pyramide. So we're working on geometry. So the kids would have to put the cards in the right one, and then they can, I like it because it's self-checking. So you can check at the end. Yeah, that circle one there. This one here, and then they can check and see if they got the right answer. So that's useful because then they can do it on their own. And then finally, I'll show you, this is a Padlet that I made for a lot of the French resources, especially ones I was using last year, but I go to it too this year. I put everything into like thematic categories, but something that I saw really cool, that was really cool that last year, a teacher had made something like this, and there are different formats that you can have, but she also used columns, but she wrote lundi, mardi, mercredi, jeudi, vendredi. So the families would know what they were supposed to be working on each day, and it kind of created a little at-home program that they could do. Oops. Oh, and that's the end already. So thanks a lot. I hope that I've been able to provide some tools for you that you will use in your online classrooms or maybe even in your physical classrooms.